The most disturbing and simultaneously saddest episode of Tom and Jerry is the one where we see Tom sitting on a set of train tracks while Jerry explains in a voiceover exactly how he ended up there. It all began when Tom fell deeply in love with a pretty white cat who had just arrived in the neighborhood. In his crazy infatuation, Tom treats her very well, which completely contrasts with how the rich cat Butch acts. The story basically shows how having money gives you a huge advantage, making a nice guy look very unappealing. The female cat chooses the money. The advantage of wealth is so huge that the rich guy can just assume she likes him, and she totally accepts it. Tom gives this white cat a lot of attention and is completely obsessed, but she just gives him enough attention to maintain his interest, looking completely bored the entire time. A girl who likes money is impressed by very expensive things, and Tom was unfortunately born poor. He brings her a simple flower he probably picked from a garden, but she already has a very expensive flower ring from her rich suitor. Tom gives her a small perfume, but the rich cat sends her a whole tanker truck of the best perfume available. Then comes the worst part, something I would not wish on my worst enemy: losing all your money for a girl. Tom decides to spend everything he has on a ring, only for Butch to arrive with a giant diamond that shines in the whole room. If you give everything for a girl thinking you will not find anyone else and she does not value you, she gets the presents and you get a ruined life. Desperate to impress her, Tom decides to acquire massive debt to buy a car. When Tom is signing the papers, you notice a dark joke. The interest rates are insanely high, and he signs a contract saying that if he cannot pay, he literally loses an arm and a leg. The heartbreak makes him drink, and he consumes so much milk that he just cannot handle his ruined life anymore. The narrator hints at the next step, showing a scene where Tom walks into a storm drain, which is basically his first attempt to end his life. In the end, the white cat marries Butch. Seeing them leave in the car brings us right back to where the episode began, Tom sitting quietly on the train tracks. Then the show presents a final twist. The exact same thing just happened to Jerry. His mouse girlfriend marries a rich mouse, and now both Tom and Jerry are sitting side by side on the tracks, waiting for the train to crush them. You hear the train approaching in the background, and that is how the episode finishes. It is very disturbing because it shows two characters we love deciding to end their own lives. I found the ending of Speak No Evil especially sinister when I watched it recently, particularly when you realize the whole tragedy could have been avoided by simply saying no. A Danish family, Bjorn, his wife Louise, and their daughter Agnes, meet a Dutch family while vacationing in Italy: Patrick, Corinne, and their son Abel, a shy boy who, according to his parents, has speech problems. After returning to Denmark, they receive a postcard inviting them to spend a few days at the Dutch family's countryside home. They accept. From the moment they arrive, the Danes begin to notice uncomfortable behavior. Agnes is given a tiny bed. Patrick cooks wild boar, even though Louise is vegetarian. Their hosts mark the gifts they brought, and Abel disrupts games without his parents correcting him, until Patrick grabs him roughly. Louise suggests leaving, but Bjorn insists on staying until the weekend is over. The microaggressions escalate. During an adults-only dinner, Patrick mocks Louise, drives drunk with loud music blasting, and later enters the bathroom with Louise showering without asking. That night, Agnes tries to sleep with her parents, but they do not let her in. Bjorn then sees Patrick peeking through their window. When Louise goes looking for Agnes, she finds her sleeping in bed with Patrick. The family decides to leave, but they return shortly after because Agnes has forgotten her stuffed bunny. Back at the house, Bjorn tries to explain his discomfort. The hosts apologize and convince them to stay. Later that night, Bjorn hears screams and discovers a disturbing room filled with suitcases and cameras, along with an attic containing photographs of Patrick and Corinne posing with different families and various children. In the pool, he finds the boy's lifeless body. Horrified, he wakes Louise and Agnes, and they flee. Their car gets stuck, and while Bjorn goes to look for help, Patrick and Corinne appear with Louise and Agnes. Louise had called them for assistance, unaware of what Bjorn had discovered. Patrick calmly promises that if they obey, they will not be harmed. They drive to a remote location where the so-called babysitter appears. She restrains Louise while Corinne cuts out Agnes's tongue. Patrick brutally beats Bjorn, and the babysitter carries the girl away. Patrick and Corinne then force the couple to strip and climb into a pit. Crying, Bjorn asks why they are doing this. Patrick simply replies, "Because you let me." The couple is then killed with stones. The final scene shows Patrick and Corinne driving away with Agnes in the back seat, continuing the cycle they have repeated with many other families, murdering the parents and keeping the children, cutting out their tones so they can never tell what happened. The film works as an exaggerated critique of extreme politeness and the fear of confrontation. Bjorn never directly challenges the discomfort or abuse he experiences, allowing everything to escalate step by step into tragedy. The final line, "Because you let me," perfectly summarizes how his passivity enabled everything that followed. Bugonia shows one of the most devastating movie endings of recent years. The story follows Teddy and Don, two cousins who together kidnap Michelle Fuller, the very powerful CEO of a huge pharmaceutical company, using the excuse that she is an alien who wants to dominate people and extinguish humanity. The entire movie develops under this premise. Although Michelle denies it at the beginning, she eventually follows Teddy's game, so the viewer begins to doubt her true identity more and more. Teddy trains Don by causing him fear and total distrust, including chemical castration. One day, they attack Michelle, inject her with a tranquilizer, shave her head because Teddy ordered it, using the excuse that her species communicates using hair, and confine her in a basement. They apply a cream that weakens the nervous system on her, and Teddy reveals his plan. He claims she is a high-ranking alien general who will contact her mothership during a lunar eclipse, and they expect her to negotiate the survival of humanity. Through memories, the story tells us that Teddy's mother suffered a very serious illness, even levitating at one point, which plants the doubt of whether there are really aliens, or if these are just unresolved traumas. 2 days before the eclipse, a destroyed Michelle confesses that she is indeed an alien. A happy Teddy applies electric shocks to her using electrodes. The house collapses due to the energy overload. Michelle bleeds from her mouth, and Teddy gets excited because he believes her resistance proves she is extraterrestrial royalty. At this point, the movie reveals that Teddy's mother became ill and entered an experimental program at Michelle's company to seek a cure. The experiment failed and left her in a coma, which explains Teddy's deep hatred. Later, they sit to eat dinner and Michelle admits the mistake with his mother, causing Teddy to attack her violently. In the middle of that chaos, Casey arrives. He is a police officer who was Teddy's babysitter and who abused him years ago. In the basement, Michelle tries to convince Don to release her, promising to take him in her ship. Don, realizing he would not leave without Teddy, shoots himself in the head. Teddy hears the noise, grabs a shovel, and destroys the police officer's head with it. When Teddy descends, Michelle tells him she has a substance capable of awakening his mother from the coma, hidden inside an antifreeze bottle. Teddy runs to get it, giving Michelle time to free herself. While trying to escape, she discovers a secret room full of apparently human body parts. Teddy had already kidnapped, tortured, and mutilated others like her. Teddy arrives at the hospital and injects the antifreeze into his mother, but Michelle lied to him. His mother dies convulsing, and Teddy escapes the hospital quickly. Back at the house, Michelle confronts him and explains the origin of humanity. The Andromedans arrived on Earth, but the humans created later ended with a defective gene that makes them violent and self-destructive. At this point, the viewer is completely confused. It is not known for sure if Michelle is continuing the lie to survive, or if she is confessing everything. She claims that the aliens are actually the good guys in this story. They were here to help, and the experiments with Teddy's mother were an attempt to heal her. When the day of the lunar eclipse arrives, Michelle reaches her work with Teddy in the passenger seat and Don's corpse in the car. Inside her office, she states that her closet is a teleportation machine to the mothership. Teddy decides to enter first, but he reveals he has a homemade bomb attached to his chest. The bomb explodes, destroying his head and leaving Michelle injured by the shockwave. Michelle manages to survive, but she quickly returns to the closet, enters it, and teleports to her ship, finally revealing that Teddy was right all along. There, the Andromedan Council confirms that the experiments failed and that humanity is a lost cause. Without any more hope, Michelle approaches a representation of the Earth and destroys its atmosphere, killing all humanity silently, like an eternal nap. The animals remain alive, since we were the mistake causing the destruction of the planet. The ending of ALF is remembered for its unexpectedly dark tone, especially for a series known for its humor and family-friendly atmosphere. ALF tells the story of a furry, sarcastic alien whose name stands for Alien Life Form. He comes from the planet Melmac, which was destroyed in an explosion. After crash landing on Earth, he's taken in by the Tanners, a typical suburban family who decide to hide him from the government to protect him. The show centers on Alf's chaotic but endearing coexistence with the Tanners as he tries to adapt to life on Earth. His antics, obsession with cats, and total cluelessness about human customs constantly lead to comedic situations. Despite the trouble he causes, the Tanners eventually see Alf as part of the family. But behind the show's light tone, there was always a looming threat. If the government ever found out about Alf, they'd capture him for testing and experiments. And that's exactly what happens in the final episode. After years of hiding, Alf receives a radio transmission from two old friends from Melmac. They've found a new planet where they can start over, and they invite him to join them. For the first time, Alf has a chance to leave Earth and live freely, no more hiding. The Tanners help him get ready, and together they head to the remote field where the rendezvous is supposed to take place. The final scene takes place there, in a quiet clearing on the edge of town. As they wait, Alf says goodbye to each member of the family. The mood is emotional and bittersweet but hopeful. There are jokes, hugs, and symbolic gifts. Everything points to a happy ending. Then lights appear in the sky. His friends have arrived. Alf's thrilled, but moments later, military vehicles show up from the ground. The government intercepted the transmission and is closing in fast. Sensing danger, Al's friends abort the landing and take off. Alf is left alone in the field, watching his one chance at freedom vanish into the sky. The Tanners, helpless, are forced to leave as government agents close in. They capture Alf, and the series ends there. No rescue, no justice, no happy ending. Just Alf, surrounded and taken by the very people he spent years hiding from. The finale was so shocking and controversial that years later a movie had to be made just to clarify that, canonically, Alf wasn't tortured by the US government. Shut Up and Dance is the third episode of the series Black Mirror. In this story, we closely follow the life of Kenny, a shy and withdrawn teenager who works in a coffee shop. His sister bothers him and uses his computer without permission. His mother works all day, and in general, his life seems normal and without problems. One day, the boy realizes that because of his sister, his computer is full of viruses or malware, so he decides to do the necessary cleaning to remove them. However, things become complicated. Kenny enters a website and begins to satisfy himself while he watches adult content. After this, his life changes completely when he receives an email from an anonymous person, telling them they know what he was watching and that they recorded everything he did through his webcam. Apparently, Kenny was hacked when he downloaded a program to clean the virus from his computer, and for that reason, the attackers obtained access to everything he did on it. After Kenny provides his phone number because they demand it, a real odyssey begins. If he obeys everything they order, the hackers promise they will not publish the video. Bearing this threat, Kenny will have to obey any order to prevent the material from leaking. Later, we discover that they do not only threaten him, they also extort a man named Hector, who deceives his wife with younger women and who will eventually be Kenny's companion in this madness. Together, they are forced to commit criminal and shady acts, like robbing a bank with a weapon. The final mission for Kenny and Hector is to travel to the outskirts of the city and wait for instructions. The extortionists ask Hector to leave Kenny alone in that place and later destroy the car. Shortly after, Kenny is forced to fight to the death against an unknown man who has a shady history related to minors. The condition is clear: one of them must die, and the one who survives will be free from the extortion. As if that were not enough, the hackers observe the deadly fight using a drone. At the end of the episode, we see Kenny covered in blood and walking with a lost look. He was the winner of the combat, and therefore, he has become a murderer. We might think that this at least served to keep his secret safe, but the reality is different. A short time later, he receives a message on his phone with the famous smiling face meme. His mother calls him on the phone, and when he answers, Kenny only hears her screams and cries, asking him again and again how he could have done something like that when they were only children. Kenny, just like the man he killed, consumed child abuse material. The episode finishes with a resigned and defeated Kenny being arrested by the police, while the rest of the victims of the hackers see how their dark secrets are revealed to their families. Dinosaurs is a series I watched as a kid, and I'm honestly glad I never saw its ending back then, because it probably would have traumatized me for life. At first glance, it seemed like just a family show with puppets and funny costumes, but it was much more than that. This series was one of the most intelligent and technically advanced productions ever made for television. The story follows the Sinclair family, Earl, the father, Fran, the mother, and their children Robbie, Charlene, and the infamous Baby Sinclair. They live in a modernized prehistoric world where dinosaurs have jobs, pay taxes, and reside in suburbs just like any human family. Earl works pushing trees at a corporation called We Say So, which reflects working-class pressures in a deeply consumerist and destructive society. Although designed as a family comedy, Dinosaurs tackled serious themes like racism, climate change, corporate greed, censorship, sexism, environmental crisis, and indigenous rights. All of this was wrapped in absurd humor and social criticism, cleverly camouflaged among gags and foam rubber costumes. But if anything truly left its mark on audiences, it was the ending. The final episode, titled Changing Nature, depicted the end of the world without holding back. In it, the We Say So company, in an attempt to control the ecosystem, triggers a chain of ecological errors that plunges the planet into a new ice age. Vegetation disappears, food becomes scarce, and temperatures plummet. In the final minutes, the Sinclair family sits together in front of the TV, listening as the news reports that the winter will be endless. No one explicitly says they're going to die, but everyone understands. Earl explains to his son that Daddy was in charge of the world, and he didn't take good care of it. Snow begins to fall, the world slowly goes dark, and the news anchor signs off with, "Good night, goodbye."
Good night. Goodbye.
Carrie is a girl with no friends, bullied by most of the girls at her school, and seen by everyone as a freak. Her mother is an old religious fanatic who mistreats her, calls her a sinner, and locks her in a dark room to pray for hours. One day, in the school showers, she gets her first period. Not knowing what it is, she thinks she's bleeding to death and screams for help. Instead of helping her, her classmates mock her and throw things at her. The gym teacher comes to her aid and explains that it's normal, though she's not surprised Carrie's mother never told her about it. It soon becomes clear that Carrie isn't a normal teenager. When she gets upset, strange things happen. Investigating, she discovers telekinesis and finds similarities to what's been happening to her. Meanwhile, Sue, one of her classmates, feels guilty and convinces her boyfriend Tommy, the most popular boy in school, to invite Carrie to the prom. She's hesitant, afraid it's a prank, but agrees. Chris, another classmate who hates Carrie, plans revenge by preparing a bucket of pig's blood to dump on her. The night of the prom arrives. Carrie and Tommy dance, are crowned king and queen, and for the first time in her life, she's happy. Sue discovers the plan, but is stopped by the gym teacher who thinks she's trying to ruin the coronation. Chris pulls the rope, tipping the bucket. The blood drenches Carrie and hits Tommy, knocking him unconscious. She recalls her mother's words, "They're all gonna laugh at you." In the novel, everyone laughs at Carrie, and she's more brutal, electrocuting her classmates and leaving the gym to continue destroying the town. In the 1976 film, Carrie has a psychotic break and believes everyone is laughing at her, even if they're not, and the massacre happens faster inside the gym. In both versions, she traps everyone inside, starts fires, causes deaths, and Chris and her boyfriend die trying to escape. Afterward, Carrie, covered in blood, returns home and asks her mother to hold her. Her mother confesses a memory of sin and unpredictably stabs her. Before she can kill her, Carrie uses her powers to crucify her with kitchen utensils. In the novel, after killing her mother, Carrie goes on destroying much of the town until she collapses and dies, probably from exhaustion, blood loss, or by taking her own life when she realizes what she's done. In the films, the house collapses while she holds her mother's body, killing them both, frightened and regretful after killing her mother and everyone else. The only survivor is Sue, who remains traumatized and haunted by dreams of what happened at the prom, something she will probably never forget.